Hello everyone, welcome to another lecture in this course. So in this video, we are going to learn how to create our first GUI application. So what we need to do on our Visual Studio Code, since we have dragged and dropped our folder and also we have also activated our virtual environment here. So what we need to do is to go to the left side of our Visual Studio Code, and we can see on top here we have the new file and a folder. So we are going to create a new file for our Python project. So let us call this Python file hello, and let us add the extension .py and press enter. So on the right side here of our Python file, this is where we are going to write the code. So we are going to code our instruction to display our window. So what we need first for the interpreter and our code to run smoothly and to run well, we need to import the sys module. So let us type import sys. So here we are importing the sys module, and it provides various functions and variables that are used to manipulate different parts of the Python runtime environment. So what we need to do now, we need to import the classes that we are going to use, which are part of the PySide library. So let us say from PySide 6 dot qt module. So inside this qt module, let us say qt widgets. Then inside this qt widgets, so the qt widget, it's a module, and this module, it contains the QMainWindow, because we are going to display a main window we are going to create our first window. So we need the QMainWindow class, and we also need the QApplication class. Okay, so this QApplication class and QMainWindow, they are part of the qt widget module, which is part of also PySide library. So if you are seeing maybe some errors here, the computer or your system probably is asking you also to choose an interpreter. So to choose an interpreter, you just need to click right here, Python. You see here, you click. Once you click here, this will pop up so that you can look for an interpreter. So once you click enter interpreter, then you go here on browse your file system to find an interpreter, because we need to locate our interpreter. So let us click this PC. Once we click this PC, let us scroll down here. Let us go to our local disk C. Once we go on local disk C, we need to go to users. Once you go to users, you know your username, whatever the username you are using. Then for myself, it's Fanumapoi. So I'll double click this. Then I need to scroll down and look for app data, application data right here. Then I open this. Then I go on local. Then on local, I have to scroll down and look for Python files or for programs. Let us go inside the programs. Then from programs, then we see Python files here. Then I have two Python versions, 3.9 and 3.10. Then I open this 3.10. Then inside this 3.10, I have to select this as the interpreter that I'm going to use. So you just click here, then select interpreter. So it will come up here. So it is very important for you to select the interpreter yourself, the interpreter that you're going to use. Okay, so this is all. So what we need to do now, after putting the Q window and the Q application, we need to press enter. So probably the question is, what is the main function of the QMainWindow, and what is the main function of Q widgets? Obviously, the Q widget, what it does, it gives the best class for all user interface. This one, the Q widget, it just gives us the basis or the best. It's just a best class for all Windows interface. All interfaces that we can see, all GUI interfaces are part of the Qt widgets. And the QMainWindow, its purpose, it also provides a user interface. This QMainWindow, it provides also a user interface. But the Q application, what it does, the Q application, it manages the GUI application control flow and main settings. That's the main purpose of Q application. And also it processes all the events from the window system and other sources. So what we need to do after doing so, we need to create our class so that we put our all code inside a class. If you are creating a function or whatever we are going to do, we need to make sure everything is inside a class. So let us call this class window, and inside this you need to bind it or to pass a QMainWindow. We need to pass a QMainWindow parameter, QMainWindow. So like I said, this is responsible for all GUI applications. So what I'm going to do now, let us create a function, and in this function we are going to call a constructor init function. We are going to call a constructor function. Let us put a constructor function here, and in this constructor function let us put self. Okay, after creating an object. So the init method is the Python constructor in an object-oriented approach. We call this function every time an object is created from a class, because it lets the class initialize the attribute. So what we need to do now, let us call super dot underscore init underscore. Okay, this super function in Python, whatever we are going to define inside this class, this super instant is going to call all the methods and attributes. It will call this, it enable you to access all the classes and attributes. So what we need to do now, we need to go here and give a variable app is equals to, since we say that this QMainWindow, it is responsible for creating GUI applications, and this is also responsible in managing the GUI application control flow. So we have already created our GUI here, but this Q application is going to manage the control flow of our application, the main setting, or whatever is going to happen in the Windows system. This is going to stabilize and manages everything. That's why we are going to create a variable application is equals to Q application here. Then we are going to call our system. So we are going to say sys dot argv. So what just happened here, we just call our sys. Since we said the sys, it gives a strong interaction between our code and the interpreter. The sys module is having functions or class called argv, and this argument just refers to argument vector. Argv stands for argument vector, which is basically a variable that contains the argument passed to a program. After doing so, what we need also to do is to create an instance. So let us call this instance display. Okay, then we need to call our class here. So we need to call our class. So our class is window. That's our class. It's window. After doing so, we need to display our main window that we have created, since we have already called the class here, because the whole function, this whole process is now inside the display variable. So what we need to do now, we need to display our window. So we write the command display dot show, and at the same time, to execute our program and to manage and stable everything, we need to call this application. We need to call this Q application that we have stored in this variable. So we need to say app dot execute execute here. So after doing so, if we run our program here is where we run our program. Okay, right, if you run our program, as you can see, this is our GUI GUI that we have created. Okay, so this is our window that we have created. As you can see here, this is our window, and with a default window title. So what we are going to do next on the next lesson, we are going to give a title for our window and even a default resizing. So this is all for this lesson. I just wanted to demonstrate on how to create a window. So to create a window, we need a class called QMainWindow or Qt widget. So inside here, you can put a Qt widget, or you can say QMainWindow. It is responsible for creating a GUI application. But after all the coding, you still need to call our Q application, because it manages and stabilizes everything which has to do with the GUI application. Then you display your application right here. So thank you for watching. See you on the next lesson. Bye bye.